First is the shocking union Supergirl and Lex Luthor. Imagine your cousin dating your literal worst enemy. Good thing it technically didn't happen. Matrix, a synthetic version of Supergirl, came to the main universe from a pocket universe. In her world, she was created by a good Lex Luthor, so in her mind he's a pretty stand-up guy. She gets to this new universe and finds a younger version of him called Lex Luthor Jr. Everyone is led to believe he is Luthor's son. He actually is just Lex Luthor's consciousness transferred into a younger clone body. This causes a rift, but the break came when Supergirl found out Luthor was trying to make a bunch of clones of her. She demolished his lab and ended it all for good. Lex Luthor, as we know, is totally obsessed with all the supers. It's weird. He even technically has a son with Superman, and imagine the chaos a Father's Day post from Superboy would cause. I can see the fan edits and fan fictions about them now. Batman has an affinity for darkness, and it seems anyone with a dark past. He famously fell in love with Talia al Ghul and had a son with her, the 5th Robin, Damian Wayne. Batman thought Talia was also in real love with him. His mistake. She actually just wanted to merge the Wayne and al Ghul bloodlines. The goal was to create an heir for the League of Assassins, and I mean, she did it. She won. Damian Wayne isn't the only Robin she has brought to life. After Jason Todd was bonked by the Joker, she brought him back to life as well. She did have some positive effect on Bruce's life. She was a villain though. She hurt and fatally injured a lot of people, and she was also the daughter of the Demon's Head. Cheshire is a recurring villain to the Teen Titans. She just can't seem to stay away from Roy Harper, also known as Speedy. With a nickname like Speedy, one would think he would be connected to famous DC hero The Flash. Wrong. He is the sidekick to Green Arrow. That is our mistake. Roy is also known as Arsenal or Red Arrow, which makes more sense. Arsenal and Cheshire met while he was undercover on a mission to gain Cheshire's confidence. He was supposed to turn her over once he had it, but then to their shock and surprise, they fell in love. He knew that he wouldn't be able to complete the mission, so he left. But then, a second surprise, Cheshire was pregnant. Her and Roy shared a daughter, Leon Harper, and that went about as well as most super families usually do. Roy and Cheshire are one of those kind of sweet couples that just keep coming back to each other. A popular version of this couple exists in the show Young Justice, and they did end up getting married in that. There is an alternate universe out there where Bruce died that fateful night instead of his parents, resulting in some interesting character development on their part. The universe is called Flashpoint. Instead of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman and seeking vengeance, his father does it. He is the one to find the mugger and cause his demise. Batman's mother is driven mad after witnessing her son's death, so she gives herself the permanent smile and swiftly descends into madness, becoming that universe's Joker. Truly, DC ate with this one. It's so cool to read. We all know the Joker, we all know Batman, but specifically having Martha as the Joker, that's really cool. It adds a layer to the character that you can't replicate in other versions. It also created a very interesting family dynamic. Not only is Thomas mourning the loss of his son, but also technically his wife. It makes sense that Batman lets the Joker go so often if he's still viewing her as the love of his life. The Enchantress is absolutely obsessed with Thor. When I say obsessed, I'm talking fangirl, attempting to seduce him multiple times, trying to break up his relationships with other women, just all around doing the absolute most. There is one thing I think that she could do, and that is not being evil. She is a reoccurring antagonist to the Thunder God, and even though this seems like it wouldn't work out, there was an alternate future in which Thor had conquered Earth, became Asgard's king, married the Enchantress, and the pair had a kid. This was her dream, but also his nightmare. Thor realized the error of his ways and decided to travel back in time to warn himself to not do all that, effectively erasing this era of his life. The romance between Daredevil and Elektra is so strong it translated to a real-life 13-year-long marriage. These two took the phrase opposites attract and ran with it. Daredevil is the picture of everything right and just. The guy's day job is lawyer and his night job is superhero. Sure, everyone has their flaws, but Matt, pretty stand-up guy. Elektra, on the other hand, started out as a villain, an assassin, and all-around danger to society. She later morphed into more of an anti-hero character. Her life was super hard, and she went through a bunch of traumatic stuff. Not that that's an excuse, but once she started her healing journey, that's when the anti-hero-ness happened. How evil Elektra ends up being kinda depends on the Daredevil adaptation you watch or read. Sometimes she stays firmly in the anti-hero column, sometimes she swings all the way to villain, sometimes even becoming a hero. hero. She and Matt knew each other before he became Daredevil. They met at Columbia University and were each other's first loves, and since then they just keep coming back together. Ben Affleck played Daredevil in the 2003 movie, and Jennifer Garner played Elektra. They married a couple years after the movie came out and had a few kids. The world's first Green Lantern, Alan Scott, got the shock of his life when he found out his first boyfriend was actually a really bad person. Alan met Johnny Ladd when they both worked on Project Crimson, the US mission to find the Crimson Flame. One night, Johnny gave Alan his ring, and then almost immediately after, an eruption of the Crimson Flame pulled him underwater. He did drown, but the flame brought Johnny back to life and kind of attached to him. While Alan was learning how to be a hero and joining the Justice Society of America, Johnny, actually Vladimir, he was a Russian spy, was taken to the Red Labs to be studied. His time there was painful, and he eventually turned into Red Lantern, the supervillain. Naturally, Red Lantern began terrorizing the Green Lantern. Every lover Alan had ever had after Vladimir was eventually taken care of. He says it was because he was trying to break Alan mentally, but it's heavily suggested he was doing it out of jealousy. Personally, this is not what I would do, but I'm also not a character foil to the first Green Lantern, so. The romance between Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle is a fan favorite, and for good reason. The two balance each other out, plus their secret identities, Bat and Cat, rhyme, and that's really all you need. Catwoman has exited her villain era in recent years and is more of a Bat ally at the moment, but she did start out as a master thief. She was trained in acrobatics, martial arts, and how to use various weapons, among other things. One thing about Selina Kyle is that she was the type of villain that you could clearly see she had the potential to be a hero. She always had that little spark of good inside her. I personally have a soft spot for this couple, since Batman is my favorite DC hero and Catwoman is my favorite villain. This really couldn't be better for me personally. Everybody loves a good enemies to lovers. Spider-Man also seems to be a cat person. He famously got involved with Black Cat, also known as Felicia Hardy. The two have a pun intended cat and mouse thing going on. She will frequently stage her death and then just pop back up again, literally has 9 lives. At a certain point, Peter just has to stop being shocked. Eventually, Black Cat decides she wants to be a hero and Spider-Man's partner, romantically and also vigilantly. Unfortunately, that doesn't last very long. She can't seem to stay on the right side of the law. Eventually, she learns of Peter's true identity and finds that she just doesn't really like Peter Parker as much as she does Spider-Man. Couldn't be me, but go off. And finally, Rogue and Magneto. Magneto is the master of magnetism, so it's no wonder the Magnet Man is attracted to his polar opposite. Rogue is most commonly linked to her fellow X-Men Gambit, so it's kind of shocking when people learn that she not only was heavily involved with someone else, but also the X-Men's main antagonist, Magneto. There's also the fact that the X-Men movies are really popular, and in those movies, Rogue was played by Anna Paquin, who was maybe like 18, and Magneto was played by Sir Ian McKellen, who was about 60, so yeah, if you're picturing them, it would be surprising that the characters would ever get romantically involved. In the comics, everything goes different, clearly. Rogue's thing is if she touches people, they often get hurt, but with Magneto that doesn't happen, so that's a point in his corner. The pair both happen to end up in the Savage Land in vulnerable states, so that's when they really first started bonding. In the Age of Apocalypse timeline, the pair actually ended up married with a kid.